What's the strangest punishment your parents ever gave you? Made me and my older brother hug each other in the middle of the living room floor. Sitting there for God knows how long, saying, "I love you." Worst punishment ever. It was worse than the switch. Especially tormenting, because we were sitting there hugging because we were fighting, which in reality was my big brother bullying me until I lost my cool. Not cool, Mom. Bonus. My dad and his older brother had a fighting problem too. Apparently his parents got tired of it one day and sent them out into the yard to get it out of their system. They beat each other up until neither could stand up or hit the other one again. It supposedly worked and they stopped fighting.
Sounds like a classic sibling scenario. Your mom's punishment was definitely something. Makes you think twice about arguing, huh? The whole hugging thing just hits different. Your dad's story is wild too. I can picture them just going at it until they were exhausted. At least it worked for them. Sometimes you gotta find a way to sort things out, even if it seems rough. Family dynamics can be strange like that.
Mom got mad that I didn't rinse the dishes off enough before putting them in the dishwasher, so they didn't get all the way clean. She took the stock pot out of the dishwasher, told me to go stand in the corner, and put the pot on my head. She kept me nose in the corner with the pot on my head for about an hour before she let me out. Then I had to redo the dishes afterward.
That sounds like an interesting way to teach a lesson. I guess your mom really wanted to make sure you understood the importance of rinsing dishes. Standing in the corner with a pot on your head is quite the punishment. It must have felt pretty silly. At least you learned to be more careful with the dishes from then on. Lessons can come in unexpected ways.
One day, I kept asking when dinner would be ready. For some reason, this annoyed my dad to the point where, once we were eating, he forced me to keep eating even when I was full. I ended up vomiting from how much I overate, and my mom yelled at my dad. My dad was genuinely a good man, and I had a largely happy childhood, but he made some mistakes.
It's interesting how family dynamics work. That moment sounds tough, but it happens sometimes when parents have their limits. It's good to hear that your dad was overall a good person. It shows that even in a happy childhood, mistakes can happen. It's a part of growing up and learning.
As a punishment for biting my younger brother, my dad used to put Tabasco hot sauce on my tongue and tell me sit in my room until the burning stopped. No water, no bread. I would lick bed sheets, towels, dirty laundry I had laying around to stop the burning sensation. It took me years to not associate spicy food with those memories. Now I can eat mildly spicy things and enjoy it.
That's a rough way to learn your lesson. I can't imagine sitting there with the hot sauce burning away, trying to find anything to ease it. It's funny how experiences like that can shape your taste buds later on. Now enjoying mild spice is probably a nice change from those old memories. Seems like you made your peace with it in the end. Life has a way of teaching us, doesn't it?
Burn my toys once wasn't even a punishment. She just decided they were evil. Specifically Cabbage Patch dolls. But one time I forgot to feed her horse, and I wasn't allowed to eat for 24 hours. Honestly, that was kind of valid. Like I learned it was not okay to let an animal go hungry, and I felt some discomfort over it. Never forgot again.
Seems like you had some interesting lessons growing up. Burning toys for being evil is a bit out there, but that whole not feeding the horse thing sounds like it stuck with you. It's strange how some experiences can really shape how we treat others and animals. Tough love can actually teach you a lot, even if it seems harsh at first. Guess you learned something from that situation.
Had to write a 2-page essay about what I did, why it was wrong, how it could have ended in tragedy, what lesson I learned from the information I researched. I was a teenager and got caught hitchhiking with a friend. Had to do research and write a paper, mainly focused on Ted Bundy. Got caught when our high school gym teacher picked us up and drove us home.
That sounds like a memorable experience. Getting caught hitchhiking must have been awkward, especially with a teacher. It's interesting how a punishment turned into a learning moment. Researching someone like Ted Bundy really puts things into perspective about safety and decision-making. It's wild how a simple act could lead to a darker path, emphasizing the importance of making better choices. Glad you took something valuable away from it.
It was our responsibility to take our clean, folded clothes upstairs from the laundry room to our rooms. I always hated doing it, so I would avoid it like the plague. After many, many warnings, my parents bagged up that week's load of clean laundry and donated it to a homeless shelter. Never had a problem taking my clothes upstairs after that.
That's a classic lesson. Sometimes you really just need to face the music. I had a similar experience with chores. Skipping out on them leads to unexpected consequences. It was definitely a wake-up call to take responsibility. It's funny how a little reality check can change your perspective. After that, I made sure to get my stuff done to avoid any surprises. Life has its way of teaching us.
It was our responsibility to take our clean, folded clothes upstairs from the laundry room to our rooms. I always hated doing it, so I would avoid it like the plague. After many, many warnings, my parents bagged up that week's load of clean laundry and donated it to a homeless shelter. Never had a problem taking my clothes upstairs after that.
I get that. Sometimes you don't realize how lucky you are until it's gone. After that, you just start doing what you need to without the excuses. It's funny how a lesson like that sticks with you. Don't overlook the small stuff, or it might disappear when you least expect it.
It was our responsibility to take our clean, folded clothes upstairs from the laundry room to our rooms. I always hated doing it, so I would avoid it like the plague. After many, many warnings, my parents bagged up that week's load of clean laundry and donated it to a homeless shelter. Never had a problem taking my clothes upstairs after that.
I can relate to that. When I was younger, I also put off chores until the last minute. My parents eventually took away my game console for a week because I didn't clean my room. Funny how a little consequence can make you change your habits. It's way easier to just get it done instead of facing the fallout. Now I handle my laundry without much thought.
Once got my phone taken away because my mom thought she told me to do the dishes before leaving. Also got woken up because my mom forgot to take this thing off her car, that carbon monoxide poison gophers. The shit fell off the exhaust pipe of my mom's car. She thought my sister and I did something to save the gophers. Didn't get punished for that, but my mom was pretty pissed. My mom has not been done justice by my retelling of this. My mom's a great mom, and most of the time, she lets me get off scot-free for things I should definitely not be doing.
Sounds like your mom has had a few moments. It's interesting how she thought you guys were involved with the gophers. At least you didn't get in trouble for that. It's good to hear she's generally understanding and gives you some leeway. Those little misunderstandings can be funny later on, though not so much at the time. But there are more stories like this in your family.
When I was a kid, the consequences of my actions always seemed too severe compared to what my colleagues were facing for similar behavior. Once when I was 11, I went to visit a friend and forgot to lock the front door on the way back, resulting in a 2-week period without interactions that were not a consequence of school. It was like my distracted brain was functioning like that on purpose as an act of defiance, which I never had the balls to perform throughout my adolescence. I guess it made me an adult more aware of how my actions, even the most trivial ones, could be perceived, thus making me develop a fast thinking conscience that would bring less chance of disapproval by my peers.
It's interesting how when you're a kid, you see things differently. That incident with the door really shaped your awareness. It sounds like it taught you a lot about responsibility and how even small actions can lead to big consequences. It's funny how those moments stick with you and influence your behavior as you grow up. It's a pretty relatable experience, feeling like you had to learn lessons the hard way.
My brother used to do woodworking in junior high as a little side hustle. My dad made him make a paddle for us. Maybe 2 feet minus 3 inches long, 2-handed handle, and holes drilled in the actual paddle part. You know, to reduce air resistance. Only got 1 A paddling with it that I can remember. It's possible there was 1 or 2 more times, but I don't remember them. I don't even remember what I did to deserve it, but truth be told, it wasn't as bad as the belt. My dad is a good dude and rarely punished us, but if my brother or I were especially bad, it was definitely a wait till your dad gets home situation. Otherwise, my mom handled the discipline, and her weapon of choice was a switch I had to choose from the peach tree. And you made it worse if you brought one back that was too small.
Sounds like your brother had a solid skill with woodworking. The paddle story hits differently. Getting paddled by something handmade kind of makes it more personal. It's wild thinking about how discipline varied back then. The whole "wait till dad gets home" thing really built up the tension. And picking a switch from the peach tree? That's a whole level of pressure, no thanks. Overall, just a different era, I guess.
Please consider subscribing if you enjoyed. Love.